Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
We have seen the intercompany stuff expense allocation. I was explaining the intercompany. So what exactly is an intercompany? When subsidiary A becomes a vendor for subsidiary B and subsidiary B becomes a customer for subsidiary A whenever they're doing the transactions internally between these two subsidiaries. So that is what your automated intercompany actually does. You know this: automated intercompany management, intercompany framework, automated intercompany dropship, all these are related to your intercompany stuff. So coming to the consolidated payments. So what exactly is a consolidated payment? When you are creating a customer within NetSuite now, there is a very good chance that this particular customer also will have multiple subsidiaries under them. Correct? I mean, just like the way we are doing business, we have legal entities across 5 states of America. Likewise, customers also might have their internal subsidiaries, their internal branches that we can deal with. In that case, what we do is we create a parent customer, and then under that we can create the child customers like child A, B, C, D. So what exactly the consolidated payments does, instead of making the payment to your child customers, the A, B, C, D child customers which are there under the parent customer, you can actually make a direct payment to the parent customer. That is what your consolidated payments would actually do. Any questions on the consolidated payments? This is where we were. So if you see, if you check the consolidated payment box to allow payments, credits and deposits to be accepted through the highest level in a customer sub-customer hierarchy. So what this means is, whenever you want to make a payment, you can directly make a payment to the parent instead of the child. So that is what your consolidated payments would actually enable you to do. Now what is in transit? Vendor payments. So usually when you are making a vendor payment, whenever you want to approve bills and make a payment, there is something called as make payments. Looks like we don't have access to that. I'll show that to you while doing the purchase orders. So what is in transit payments actually does is, if you do not enable this and when you are making a vendor payment, it directly gets posted to the vendor bank record. So rather than doing that, there is something called as, if you enable the in transit payment, there is an additional step which actually comes after the vendor bill. You know, whenever you're making a vendor bill and when you want to make a payment to your vendor, then there is an interim transaction which gets enabled, which is called as in transit payments. So why exactly are you doing? It is because when I told you that we record the payments on your NetSuite, however, the actual payments happen outside of NetSuite. So it's like you are making a payment from your bank account to your vendor. So when you do that, you want the next week to record it as in transit payment. And once the transaction which happens outside of NetSuite, when you're directly making the payment, when the customer accepts the payment or confirms that the payment has been received, then you can mark the payment as complete. So that is the reason you have the in-transit payments here. What are vendor prepayments? If you enable vendor prepayments, you will be able to make a payment to your vendor even before you place an order. Because sometimes with the negotiation or with the contract that you have with the vendor, there might be some material which is too costly. Let's say 1 million material. So the customer, I mean the vendor, does not want to ship out the equipment without you making a prepayment. Let's say $500,000, they want to make a payment even before the material is received. In that case, the vendor prepayments are enabled. So let me enable that. See here, if you see under transactions, as of now, there is no vendor prepayment. But if I enable that now, you see this, the vendor prepayment is enabled for us. This particular option was not there initially when we have not enabled that. So you would actually, when you're doing the personalization sessions with the client, you would actually ask them if they want this feature to be enabled or not. Is there a requirement or is there a business case wherein you make a payment to the vendor in advance? I mean, even before you place an order, even before you do an item receipt, I mean, even before the material is shipped out to you, do you have a requirement wherein you have to make a payment to your vendor? That is called a vendor prepayment. If a customer says, yes, I do want the vendor prepayment to be enabled, then you will enable it in the enable features part, just like the way we have done it now. So likewise, on this enable features page, every feature that you have to explain it to your customer in a proper way. And well, this is actually done module wise again. So when I say module wise, so this vendor prepayment comes as a part of the procure to pay cycle. So whoever does the procure to pay cycle, whoever is actually taking this procure to pay personalization session with the client, they would actually go through these options: consolidated payments, in transit payments. Do you want the in transit payments to be enabled? Do you want the consolidated payments to be enabled? All these questions you ask the client, and if they have the intercompany framework. I mean, some companies do not have any intercompany transfers or they do not have any intercompany transactions. In that case, they don't need the intercompany to be enabled. So you don't have to enable these things that you have on the screen now. Now, one more important thing is there are certain things which are grayed out. You see this. The reason this is grayed out is once you enable these features, Netsuite does not allow you to disable them. So it will give you a pop-up even before you're enabling these features. The Netsuite gives you a pop-up saying that you will not be able to disable this feature if you enable it once. Do you want to enable this or not? That's how it will give you a pop-up. I don't know if it's not mentioned over here, but you will get a pop-up when you are enabling or disabling these features. So anything which is grayed out after you enabling them, you will not be able to disable them anymore. And here, do you want to use the multiple calendars? Just in case if you are dealing with different countries and you need to have access to multiple calendars, then you can do this. You can enable this part. So statistical accounts, this is to track the non-monetary data, like any transactions which do not have the financial impact. And it's a relationship with the financial activity of your organization. Just to track your non-monetary data, anything which is not related to the financials. You can actually enable these statistical accounts. Period and journal entries, as we have discussed yesterday. When I was I'm sorry, on Friday, by the way. So when I was discussing the manage accounting period, so there's just for you, there is something called as manage accounting periods. That is one of the features that we have enabled. So what happens is, this is the financial years. All these financial years that you can see over here. So you will be able to set up a full year by clicking on this and a month, and every month the financial team has to close those periods. So it was February month and a little while ago, a couple of days back. So they click on this checklist. They close out all these transactions, lock AR lock, AP lock, or you click on this task and then you can lock these things. You will lock all the subsidiaries so that no one will be able to make transactions in the February period. Any transaction which happens need to happen only in the month of March. If the users have forgotten something that in the previous month I was not able to do this, then they have to reach out to the finance manager and he will reopen the period only for that transaction to be completed. Once the transaction is closed, then close out the period once again. So the reason I was showing you that is this period and journal entries. So you are actually posting the journal entries to record period and consolidated consolidation year and closing. So what this means is, if there are certain transactions which were not recorded on Netsuite, like an expense I went out on a business travel, but that was not recorded on Netsuite. My colleagues have gone for a party, the quarter end party, which was not recorded. So all these things are entered as journal entries within the system. So where exactly do you have these journal entries? I will show it to you once again, but since we are here, I'll show it. Go to Transactions, Financial, and make journal entries. So what happens when you are making a journal entry? This is a journal entry which is called so in an ERP. Please do remember that journal entry plays a very important role. So any journal entry, it is called a GE or JV. It is also called a voucher, a journal entry. Any transaction which is not recorded on Netsuite can be recorded through this journal entry. You select the subsidiary and the currency gets selected automatically based on the subsidiary that you have selected, which is USA. And here you will be able to select the accounts. These are the general ledgers which are there so that you can actually search for expense accounts. Something like prepaid expenses. So I'm saying that prepaid expenses is journal entries. Just remember one thing, you can actually create journal entries against departments, companies, classes and locations. There is no class for this Amazon Inc. That is the reason you don't have this selected. But you can click on this new and create a class, or you can create a class from here as well. I show that to you when we are doing the master data. So just remember one thing, whenever you are creating a journal entry, one would be a debit transaction and the other one has to be a credit transaction. You see this automatically, it will take 1000 as the credit. So it has to balance out. So what I'm doing is, instead of taking, let's see, can we take the bank account? So there is bank. So you can take bank account, and what I'm saying is, from my bank account, I'm actually making a payment to my prepaid expenses and I'm recording this. So if you do not put the second line on the journal entry, you will not be able to save the transaction. So any given point in time for the journal entries, it has to balance out. The reason why it has to balance out is if you're saying that there is a $1 $1,000 debit. But where are you making this payment from? You have to make it from some of the other account. You agree? So from the bank account, you are making a payment into this prepaid expenses and you are showing this as an expense. So you might get confused between the debit and credit part over here. I will explain that to you in detail while we are doing the general ledgers, but just remember one thing on the bank, on the ERP. Once again, in an ERP language, the debits and credits will be opposite of what you think. So in your bank account, whenever you go to an ATM and when you are, transacting, it says that you are, let's say you have withdrawn $10,000. It says that the amount has been debited from your bank account. Correct. When you withdraw, this is what you get to the message. Correct? Great. And when you deposit, this is what you get. Correct? This is how you get it. However, the actual transactions with which happens behind this is so when the amount has been debited from your bank. Whenever this happens, this is actually your bank and the main bank, let's say ICICI Bank. So ICICI Bank, whenever you're withdrawing the amount, the actual ICICI Bank is getting debited. So that is the reason it shows that your amount has been debited from your bank. And whenever you are depositing, when the bank account is getting credited, this is the actual ICICI Bank which is getting credited. So in the ERP, whenever you make a payment, when you make a payment, it says credited, and whenever you receive payment, it is debiting. This is the ERP language actually. Whenever you are making a payment out of your bank account, it says that it is crediting. And whenever you are receiving the payment, it is actually getting debited. Just remember this difference. Did you understand what I was trying to say? We have to get habituated today. It takes time guys. I mean, see this from the bank. It is completely opposite to the regular transactions we make or receive the messages. Exactly. So receiving payment. Usually whenever you get a credit, it's like whenever you're depositing, it is getting credited. But it is exactly the opposite that's happening on your bank account as well. See, you are getting the messages as credited. But this is actually getting debited. The main bank account is actually, whenever you're depositing the main bank account, the ICICI bank account is crediting that your account. So that is the reason it says that it is credited. So main bank account is the one which is doing that actually. Just remember this, making payment is credit, receiving payment is debit on ERP. So basically we are thinking of the source set. So from the bank sir. Correct. Exactly my point as well here. So that is the reason any journal entry need to have a couple of lines. Now, if you want to add another bank account, then you need to have another 2 lines again. Instead of, if you're not balancing it 100%, you will not be able to save it. And if I do a tab, I'm not entering the credit amount away. So when I do a tab, it takes 1200 automatically, indicating that this has to be 1200 only if you are increasing it by 1201 or something. Even then it won't save. The lines are, it says that the lines are not matching. You see this. The amount in a journey entry must balance. So you have to ensure that this is balancing. So if you are making a payment to some account, you are making it from some account on ERP. So that is the reason these have to match out. You see this now, I saved it. It got saved as a journal entry. So any transactions that you do outside of Netsuite, and if you want to record on Netsuite, this is how you do it. This is a journal entry that I have created now for USA currency because of the subsidiary that I've selected. And I've selected a couple of accounts here, and you know there is a debit credit of those accounts which are selected. That is how your journal entry does. We'll make more journal entries in the coming sessions anyways, but I just wanted to show you that since we were dealing with the month and journal entries here, period and journal entries. Now coming to your revenue recognition, there is something called as advanced revenue management as part of the project cycle. Whenever you have projects or whenever you have sales orders. So usually the advanced revenue management is not enabled for the customers. By default, this is not done. This is an advanced topic and it comes with a cost. So the advanced revenue management also is not covered as part of this training. But the reason why it is not covered, I'll let you know. Initially, when you start off as a functional consultant, you do not need to know what is an advanced revenue management. So the basic implementations that happen, even the Suite Success implementations that I told you, which happened for 90 days, 100 days, all these customers, they do not opt for the advanced revenue management, which is called as ARM. So these advanced concepts, you will be able to grasp them with an implementation experience of close to 1.5 years only. You will not be able to grasp these concepts without knowing the basics of ERP or without knowing the purchase cycle, sales order cycle or the manufacturing cycle that we do. And even if you do not know, this is not mandatory that you need to know as a functional consultant. Because very experienced consultants, like in 3 years, 5 years experience on Netsuite or ERP, only they will be able to deal with this advanced revenue management concept. So what is a revenue management? There are different concepts, actually something called as revenue rules, revenue elements, and then revenue arrangements. So what happens is you can actually recognize the revenue in installments. After the quarter end, you will be able to recognize the revenue for so and so amount. Once a milestone is closed, you will be able to recognize half of the amount. Recognizing the amount in the sense. What you're saying is you are showing that this expenditure which happened on this project, you are actually recognizing that using the advanced revenue management tools. This is a completely advanced topic. And you have all those advanced revenue management certification also. See, there are 5 certifications for Netsuite, which are Basic ERP, Consultant, Admin Suite, Analytics, Finance, User Suite Foundation. So these are the 5 certifications that you have on Netsuite. Apart from this, for the experienced functional consultants, there are 2 other things, which is multiple accounting and advanced revenue management. So these 2 are advanced certifications, which actually you can do it once all these 5 certifications are completed. So for a starter, whenever you're starting off with the Netsuite and when you want to do it, See, this is a multiple accounting that I was talking about. This multiple accounting and the advanced revenue management are the advanced topics that you have within NetSuite. And initially when you start off with NetSuite, you don't need to, and I suggest that don't even look for these videos. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube. Don't even look for these concepts as of now. Once you're into NetSuite, like 6 months or 1 year down the lane, that is when you can actually concentrate on multiple accounting and advanced revenue management. Because the reason why I'm saying is, you can manage NetSuite even without these two features, advanced features that you have. Any questions on that? Now these two are disabled. The reason behind that is once you enable this and save, you see that this is what I was saying. If you enable this feature, you cannot disable it in the future. That is what it says. So let's not enable. So once you enable this, that is when these two get enabled for you. Like this, I'm not saving it. These two gets enabled. That's what your advanced revenue management actually does. So for the interview part and all you can just learn the definitions of these advanced revenue management and multiple accountants. So coming to the tax part, NetSuite actually defines the tax structure for the entire United States by default. So 9% of the NetSuite customers are from the NA region, North American region. And that is the reason all those 25 states, the tax structure is automatically defined on NetSuite. You don't have to do anything additional for that. So how the tax works based on the zip code for the vendor or the customer? So you specify certain zip code on the vendor or the customer level. And when you are transacting with those vendors, when you are transacting with those customers based on the zip codes, NetSuite automatically picks up the tax code from that particular state. Now let us say for Kentucky the tax code is 5001. So based on that particular zip code, NetSuite automatically picks up the tax. Let's say 5% VAT or percent, whatever is the VAT percentage within that particular state, NetSuite automatically picks up the tax. Now, where exactly do you have this tax structure defined? You go into Setup Accounting. I will go into this again when we are doing the accounting. I just wanted to show you where the tax structure is. You see, this setup taxes Nexus's tax control accounts. I will show all these to you in detail, and these are the tax codes. So if I open the tax codes directly as of now, and then expand this filter, see the country is all now. So you can specify, you can actually based on the countries, you can actually define your new tax codes. So if you want me to expand the tax code now, shall we do it? Let's do it later. I will come back to this. I mean, when we are going into the account, since we are in a company, only when we go into the accounting, I will show you the tax structure, how exactly it is defined on NetSuite later on. So going to this tax code, if you click on this view, you will see what is the tax agency. What is the tax name? This is non-taxable as of now, but I'll show that to you. What is the county? What is the tax agency? Depending on what is the state and city and everything on the zip code, when you're dealing with the transactions, the rate is picked up automatically, tax rate. So that's what your tax actually does. Now let us go into the transactions. So these transactions that you see here are the exact transactions that you see on this tab. So if you are disabling the sales order, then you won't have the sales part. Sales and customers will be gone if you're disabling the sales orders. Let me try and do that if it allows us to do it. So there are outstanding bills. There are outstanding invoices now, and that is the reason it does not allow us to disable it at this point in time. You see this. I got a pop-up when I'm trying to disable this. One is, do you want to disable all these? Will be disabled, that is one of the warnings. But when I click on it, says the advanced shipping feature may not be turned off while there are outstanding billed on this fulfilled orders, because there are some records, there are some transactions which are happening on the sales orders, and that is the reason you will not be able to disable that. So what happens when you disable them is there might be certain customers who do not want the sales process to be enabled. And they say that we don't have the sales process. It's only the manufacturing that we do in our industry. So in that case, you don't have to enable the sales order. And when you are not enabling this, the entire sales and customer part will not be available even under order management, fulfilled orders, marked packs. So these three tabs will be gone. Similarly, return authorizations, again the return authorizations for the sales, which is same. Whenever you sell something, if a customer wants to send it back, it is called your return authorization. So all these things will be gone. All these features that you see on your screen now will not be available. Similarly, purchase orders and vendor written authorization. So when you disable these two things, you will not be able to see this purchase as payables. Vendor return authorizations. Enter vendor return authorizations. This will be disabled. All these things will not be there. Let me see if I can just disable the vendor written authorizations. Maybe if there are no transactions. No, because there are one or more dependent records. So you have to remove these transactions and only then you can disable the vendor return authorizations before proceeding. And where exactly can you see those transactions? Go to Transactions, Purchases, enter Vendor Written Authorizations list. So you go to this list, you have to delete all these transactions. And to delete all these transactions again, you will have the dependent records. So this is what copy. If you remember, I said that you have to delete certain transactions before you go live. And then you have to put in the master data. You remember that this is exactly what we do. So you go into this return. These are. Let us assume that these are all test transactions which were done. So I go into this vendor written authorizations, and each vendor written authorization, there are some related records. You click on this. You have to. There's nothing for this. So if you have fulfillments and credits for this vendor written authorization, then you have to delete those. And then you have to delete the vendor written authorization. You go into Actions and delete. This is what you have to do. See, now that is deleted, but the rest of the vendor written authorizations are still there. Let's not delete all. I was just showing you, so we'll have to delete all these things. And only then you can disable the feature that I was talking about, which is vendor return authorizations. This part. So request for quote and requisitions. Now these are two different options. Purchase requests. What exactly this means is internally your employees can put in the request for certain material. Let us say there is a guy from the facilities. He is a facilities manager. He wants to buy some furniture for your company. Then he can put in the purchase request by going into Transactions, Purchases and Purchase Requests and enter request for quote. This is what it is. Enter request for quote is nothing but your purchase request. Somebody has changed this name again. So, like the way I have shown you the other day, you go into rename record transactions and purchase for contract order. Blanket purchase order only. Which is a request. I don't see what was the name that was set up here. A request for quote. I don't know if it's there, but request for quote. This is nothing but your RFQ. You can change the name to purchase request also. Just like the way you want it. You can change it to purchase request also. So that is what your purchase request is. Now, what is a purchase requisition? So purchase requisition is your internal department wants to buy something from outside. Let us say 10 computers or 10 laptops, whatever it is. So you can create a purchase requisition with multiple vendors in it. Vendor A, vendor B, vendor C, whoever is offering me the best price, I can create a purchase order against that particular vendor. That is what is your purchase requisition order. We'll see all these in detail. Purchase contracts, blanket purchase orders, how all these things are done on NetSuite. I will show it to you when we are doing the transactions in detail. Any questions on this? I've already explained to you what is a blanket purchase order. I want to purchase some material with standard intervals. You know, every first of every month I want to purchase something from a vendor. In that case, I entered the blanket purchase orders. What is a purchase contract? Purchase contract is done in between the vendor's items and the subsidiaries. So what happens is from a particular vendor, a particular material is 1,000. But if I purchase that before March 31st, there is an offer or there is a contract that you want to deal with the vendor. If I place so and so quantity for that particular item, I get it only 900. In that case, you can create a purchase contract within next week. Coming to your any questions on that, or do you want me to explain that again? So coming to the sales part, whatever we dealt with now is basic features. Now under the basic features, you will have some advanced features for the sales. For shipping and receiving, for billing and for payment processing. These are the detailed, features that you have for each of them. So what is multiple prices? Multiple prices is, it is an ability to set up a default price level for each customer. So you may not want to sell with the same amount for all the customers. There is a 10-year-old customer who always has been with you and you want to give this particular item for 800 only or undas 100 only. And there is a brand new customer who's dealing with us and you know who's doing a business and you want to. You may not want to give it the same price. You might want to give him for 1 to 200 that particular item. In that case, you can enable multiple prices. And at each customer level, you can define what is the price for that particular item on that customer. And whenever you select that customer and the item automatically picks up the price that you have defined for that customer. You don't have to, change it manually, but it automatically picks it up. That is what is your multiple prices does. Now, when I am dealing with the transactions, whenever I'm doing the transactions, I will go back to these features again. I will explain you why exactly that feature is working. because we have enabled this particular thing. So, as of now, you may not be able to understand the entire concept that I'm talking about this, but when we are dealing with transactions, I will switch back and forth between the enabled features, accounting preferences wherever required, and I will show you why exactly that particular feature is working and what have we enabled in the features and the accounting preferences that this feature is working so and so in a particular manner. What is quantity pricing? So quantity pricing is, you know all these things, but you may not know the terminology. That is the only difference. Quantity pricing is nothing, but if a customer is buying 50 quantity from me, I want to give it for 1000. If he is buying 100 quantity, then I want to give it for 900. If he is buying 150, then I would give it for 800. So in that way, you can define the quantity pricing within the system. So whenever you are taking that quantity, whenever you're giving that quantity on a sales order, then automatically it picks up that price that you have set up as part of the quantity pricing levels. Any questions on that? Hope you understood the concept. So what is a gross profit? You can track the gross profit of the item and at the transaction level as well, just in case if you enable this. If you don't enable it anyways, you can find it at the sales order level. But if you enable this, you can check the profit at the item and the transaction levels as well. There are certain promotion codes that you can, allow the customers to redeem certain coupons, or you can prepare certain promotional codes and send it as flyer to your customers. Auto apply promotion. So do you want these promotions to be applied automatically? Is what is show. You know it's been showing here. So in the shipping and receiving, what is automatic location assignment? When you are fulfilling certain things. When you are fulfilling in the sense, when you're sending out the material from the warehouse, do you want the location to be assigned automatically, or do you want the warehouse people to assign the location? So usually this is not enabled because you don't want the automatic location assignment system automatically picks up the location based on the quantity available, and so on and so forth. So instead of that, they want to do this manually, and that's the reason it is not enabled. Pick, pack and ship. So these are three different activities which are performed as part of the warehouse outgoing goods. Whenever you want to ship something, you want the warehouse people to pick it, you want them to pack, and you want them to be shipping it out of the warehouse. So these three are three. You can enable these three things so that these are three different stages of your picking, packing and shipping orders. So fulfillment request is nothing, but you can add this fulfillment request to your goods. Whenever you want to send them out, you can add this as an additional step. This is just like the in-transit payments that we spoke about a little while ago. And then advanced receiving. So this actually gives us a separate process for the billing and accounting departments receiving and the accounting departments. You will have two different options enabled for this advanced receive. So that's about this. Billing coming to your billing. Bill cost to customers. So if you want to add additional cost to your customers for reimbursement, you can actually do that for billing the cost to customers. So these are again subscription billing and advanced subscription billing. These are the advanced features again, like the AR multi, book accounting, subscription billing is also advanced feature, And advanced subscription billing is another feature that you do not need to concentrate on as of now. Any questions on that? Credit card payments. You can enable them to receive credit card payments from your customers whenever you want to. Whenever someone makes a credit card payment, do you want to receive that or not is what's here. And then you have PayPal integration, for the payments which need to be done. These are all the integrations that you have here, payment links. So you can create invoices with a link for straightforward payment. So if you might be paying some school fees or you might be paying anything. So this payment links can be generated. You click on that payment link, it will take you to them, some raise, up pay, and then you end up putting in your credit cards and then making a payment over there. So that is what is your payment link all about. You can generate that payment link if you enable that particular feature. So that is about your transactions. Now, inventory. Items in an inventory is it's a bigger topic, so we will deal with that tomorrow. But let's not end the session straight away. There are certain things that you can actually look into. The employees part. So this employee part is a part of the HR management system. Just like the way you have your procure to pay order to cash record to report designed to build what else? Lead to quote marketing to return on investment. There is something called as the HR management as well. But from my personal experience, out of 5 years of NetSuite experience that I have, usually people do not go for this HR management on NetSuite. For every ERP, there are certain limitations. So for the HR portal, usually they go for like a DP or they go for some advanced accounting and advanced HR portals rather than NetSuite. So I did see. It's not that nobody takes the HR portal, but there is a different team altogether which handles this. It's not the general implementation consultants who do it. With what I know for the past 5 years that I've been implementing, the our management tool is a separate process and there is a separate team which actually handles this. So we don't touch this, this particular tab. When we are dealing with the enable features, it is only the company accounting transactions items and inventory and CRM. The other parts, the analytics, the suite cloud. This is all for the technical guys. For the technical consultants who have been doing suite, cloud is completely, the suite scripts, the scriptlets. There are certain technical aspects that are their suite flows, custom, GI line. So this is all a part of the technical implementation, web presence and suite cloud. This is completely a part of the technical implementation. Consultants like the site builder, website site builder, web store, advanced web search, advanced web reports. These are all a part of the technical implementation network, technical implementation, including the analytics. So just to give you a brief introduction of what analytics is all about, you must have heard the words like Cognos, Business Intelligence, Microsoft Dynamics. So these are all your reporting tools. NetSuite also has a lot of standard reports. If you go to your time and billable, these are the reports. If you go to purchases, these are the reports. If you go to your vendors and inventory items, these are the reports. However, there might be a custom requirement where the customer wants more reporting, which is achievable through the analytics. There's something called as analytics. So if you open this analytics, this is an advanced version again. So if you click on this analytics, you can pull the data from various tables. Now go to data sets. I'll just give you a brief introduction of what it is. So you can create your new data. So there are already existing data sets showing 18 data sets which were created earlier, but you can create your new data sets. I will go into this in detail when we are done with all the transactions. So you can create an account data set while all the fields on this will be available. You pull these fields. You pull these fields onto the hand side and it keeps displaying your data. So it keeps pulling all the information. This is nothing but your data sets. So you can export data to a CSV file. So if you click on this, it will display all the data which is related to that particular. All the accounts, GL accounts that you have here. So I have pulled in full name description. I have pulled a different account display name type, and all these things we have pulled. So that is the reason you are able to see this information. That is what is your analytics all about. And this is very basic that I have shown you now. There are so many things that you can do with this. You can actually, you can filter these things as well. You can drop the fields here to add the criteria. Greater than 1, something like that. So you apply this criteria and then it gets applied over here. You can filter out the data, you can apply the data. So there are so many advanced things that you can do with Suite Analytics. And that is the topmost certification. Again, out of the 5 certifications that I mentioned, Suite Analytics is one of them. And Suite Analytics is the 5th top certification that is done as part of the net. Even I haven't done the Suite Analytics certification. This is also for the technical guys usually. But yes, the functional consultants also need to have knowledge about the Suite Analytics. So I'll show them to you. Show that to you in detail when we discuss about it. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.